Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really, truly fascinating psychological profile. It's a theme of human behavior known as the maximizer. Seriously, if you've ever wondered why certain people are just absolutely driven, like seemingly hardwired from birth to pursue excellence in literally everything they do, well, you are in the exact right place. We're going to decode the whole anatomy of these high standards, taking a look at how this trait actually operates, how it benefits teams, and, where it can occasionally derail us.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to take a quick second and ask yourself, or maybe think about the people you work closest with. Do you have this relentless, almost burning urge to take something that is already good and push it until it becomes absolutely exceptional? We all know the type, right? The person who just isn't satisfied until the font on the presentation is scientifically proven to be the most aesthetically pleasing. A true maximizer doesn't just want to get the job done. They want to get it done to a standard that makes people stop and literally stare. They're constantly pushing way past mere competence to achieve something totally extraordinary.
So, to make sense of all this, we've structured this explainer into a highly logical 5-part user manual. We'll start with defining the maximizer, look at their value and high standards, see what fuels them, explore the balcony versus basement dynamic, and finally, look at theme contrast to really highlight those hidden blind spots.
All right, Part 1, Defining the Maximizer.
At its absolute core, this is a profile fundamentally driven by excellence. When we look at the SwitchOn Strengths framework, a core truth about maximizers is that they just naturally spot strengths and potential in things. You know how most people spend a huge amount of time obsessing over how to fix their weaknesses? Well, maximizers, not so much. Actually, scratch that. They do manage their weaknesses so they don't cause disasters, but they pour their real, raw energy into maximizing strengths, both in themselves and in the people around them. They just want to transform the good into the exceptional.
And this brilliantly illustrates their core metaphor: maximum return on investment. But hey, they aren't just talking about financial capital here. They're talking about human capital, time, and energy. It's like a giant puzzle for them. A maximizer looks at a project, a person, or a process, and they intentionally invest their energy only where the greatest potential already exists. They really don't want to waste time trying to drag a 2 out of 10 up to a 4. No way. They want to take an 8 out of 10 and blast it into a 12.
Moving on to Part 2, Value and High Standards.
So what happens when you put a maximizer on a team? Well, they naturally step into this incredibly valuable role as the ultimate quality driver. Their key contributions absolutely center around this relentless focus on excellence. They have this kind of superpower, this innate ability to recognize the hidden strengths in others, pulling talent out of people that those people might not even see in themselves. They just have an eagle eye for improvement. By using a strengths-based approach, they elevate performance across the board, literally dragging entire organizations from a baseline of basic competence up to a much higher standard of excellence. They challenge everyone around them to step up and grow.
Which brings us to Part 3, Fueling the Maximizer.
Listen, high performance doesn't just happen in a vacuum. Maximizers will actually literally wither in environments that just want to churn out massive volume. They absolutely need spaces that value quality over mere quantity. Look at what they need to thrive: clear standards of excellence, the breathing room to pursue exceptional outcomes, and the daily opportunity to focus on strengths. But crucially, they need the green light to improve what already works. If you tell a maximizer, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you are going to drive them absolutely crazy. Because to them, if it ain't broke, that just means it's primed and ready to be optimized.
Let's shift gears to Part 4, Balcony versus Basement.
Now, we have to be honest here. Any psychological strength, when unmanaged, can become a massive liability. It's a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde dynamic. When a maximizer is operating in the balcony, meaning, they're highly self-aware and working at their absolute best, they are inspiring. They're transformational. They elevate everyone, turning untapped potential into just phenomenal results. But when they slip into the basement, when the trait is overused or unmanaged, that exact same drive for excellence curdles into perfectionism. They can become overly demanding, deeply impatient with slower processes, and visibly frustrated by what they perceive as just mediocrity. The pursuit of greatness basically becomes a rigid trap.
And this leads to some very specific and honestly very common blind spots. Maximizers have intense difficulty settling for good enough. They might over-refine a project, tweaking a spreadsheet endlessly past the deadline just because they can still see room for like a 1% improvement. They get deeply discouraged by imperfect outcomes and often hold completely unrealistic standards for themselves and their team. Ultimately, if they aren't careful, this can lead to them totally alienating or excluding colleagues who just can't keep up with their relentless pace and towering expectations.
Finally, let's look at Part 5, Theme Contrasts.
Sometimes the absolute best way to understand a specific trait is by looking exactly at what it is not. Let's look at this first contrast. A maximizer says, I aspire to meet or exceed a standard of excellence. But a highly competitive person, they say, I aspire to be number one. The nuance here is absolutely fascinating. A maximizer doesn't necessarily care about the shiny trophy or outperforming the person sitting next to them. They care deeply about the standard of quality itself. Think of it this way. If they win the race but run a sloppy time, a maximizer is going to be unhappy. But if they lose the race but run their absolute personal best flawlessly, they will be totally satisfied.
Building right on that, let's look at another contrast. A maximizer says, I want to build something great. Someone with a restorative theme says, I want to fix something broken. So the crucial point is that a maximizer is not a natural troubleshooter. While some folks absolutely love diving headfirst into a messy, broken problem and repairing it to working order, the maximizer wants to take something that is already working and polish it until it shines brilliantly. They are builders of excellence, not fixers of failure.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive today. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a really provocative thought to reflect on regarding your own work style. Ask yourself, are you maximizing your strengths, or are you just demanding perfection? Remember, true maximizing is all about investing in potential to create exceptional outcomes, not paralyzing yourself and your entire team with impossible standards. So think about how you manage that drive for excellence today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep maximizing your potential.